There is a figure that appears across cultures, centuries, and symbols, the being that lives on the border between what is known and what still has no name. She is ancient, and antiquity, for those who know how to read it, is another word for depth. Today she stands at a crossroads in the middle of the forest, for paths, for directions, for possible versions of what comes next. And she has no map. No one does. That is exactly the point. The crossroads do not ask for certainty. They ask for choice. And there is a huge difference between those two things, because certainty, in most moments that truly matter, does not arrive before the choice. It is built afterward, through what you do with the path you chose. Today, the question we bring is this: what if every choice you make is, in truth, a portal, and on the other side of it, a different version of you is waiting to exist? Let's walk with that idea for a while. Have you ever looked back and realized that a small choice changed everything? Not a grand and solemn decision. Not marriage, moving cities, or changing careers, but something smaller. A conversation you decided to have or not have. A path you took on impulse one afternoon for no special reason. A book someone left on a table that you picked up almost by accident. And when you look at where that moment led you, at who you became because of it, at the people it brought into your life, at the ideas it opened, there is a specific feeling that does not have a very good name in English. It is not exactly gratitude, not exactly surprise. It is something closer to the recognition that life has an intelligence you could not see while it was happening. Or maybe it is the opposite. Maybe you can identify the moment when you chose the path that closed something off, that moved you away from a version of yourself you still miss. Not with regret. Regret is a trap that rarely produces anything useful, but with the clear realization that that choice was a portal too, just toward another direction. The choices we make do not disappear once they are made. They become the ground we walk on. And the ground we walk on determines, more than almost anything else, where we are able to go. There is a very common way of thinking about choices, the analytical way, weighing what is gained and what is lost, trying to predict with as much precision as possible which option will produce the best result later on. And that approach has value. For certain kinds of decisions, it is exactly what is needed, but it captures only one part of what is happening when you choose, the smaller part, because there is something analysis almost always ignores, that every choice is not only a decision about what will happen, it is a decision about who you will become. Think about two people facing the same difficult situation, a conflict, a loss, an ambiguous opportunity that could become either risk or growth depending on how you receive it. The first chooses to avoid it, closes off, protects, keeps things as they are. The second chooses to move through it, opens up, exposes themselves, risks what is for what could become. Externally, the consequences may look similar for a while. Maybe the first person avoids the immediate impact the second will feel. Maybe the second loses something the first preserved. But internally, something different happened. The first became someone who avoided. The second became someone who crossed through. And that difference, invisible in the first months, unmistakably visible after years, is what choices truly produce. Not only external outcomes, people, specific versions of people who only exist because they made the choices they made. Writer and Professor Joseph Campbell spent decades studying the stories human beings tell about themselves, the myths, narratives, and archetypes that repeat across completely different cultures throughout all of human history. And what he found at the center of all those stories, without exception, was a structure he called the hero's journey. The starting point of that journey is not the adventure, not the dragon, the treasure, or the transformation. It is the choice to cross the threshold. The hero stands at the edge, between the known world and the unknown. And the story begins the moment he chooses to cross. Not because he knows what he will find, but because something within him recognizes that staying is another kind of death. Campbell called this moment the call to adventure. But what he was describing in the language of myth is the same thing we are describing here in the language of ordinary life. Every choice to cross through is a portal. And there is one aspect of this idea that is rarely spoken clearly enough. When you do not choose, when you delay, when you keep your options open for too long, when you wait for circumstances to make the decision for you, you are also choosing. You are choosing the path of waiting, and that path also leads somewhere. It also shapes someone. It also creates consequences that accumulate over time. Avoidance is a choice like any other. It is simply less honest about what it is doing. Not the desire to choose well, that is legitimate. Not the desire to avoid regret, that is deeply human. But the question, how do I make the right decision, assumes that there is one objectively correct choice waiting to be discovered. That if you analyze enough, consult the right people, wait for the right moment, the answer will appear clearly enough for you to move forward without risk. And maybe that clarity never comes in the way you are waiting for, because the best choices are rarely the most obvious ones. Almost always, they involve some form of leap, a moment when the available information is not enough to guarantee the outcome, and you choose anyway. Not out of recklessness, but out of trust in something that does not fit entirely inside rational analysis. And what exists on the other side of that leap is not the result you calculated. It is a version of yourself that can only exist after you take it. Think about the choices that shaped you the most, that made you who you are. Almost certainly, when they were made, there was no guarantee. There was discomfort. There was risk. There was the real possibility that things could go wrong. And they worked out not because they were objectively the right choices. They worked because you crossed through them completely, and on the other side remained a version of you that had something the previous version did not. The turning point is not discovering how to choose correctly. The turning point is realizing that what matters is not so much what you choose. It is who you become while choosing, and while living through the consequences of what you chose. It is no longer, how do I make the right decision? It becomes, what kind of person am I building through the choices I make? And is that person who I want to be? That question is slower, more demanding, but it is the only one that looks directly at what choices truly produce. Not results, people. You, in versions that only exist because they did what they did, chose what they chose, crossed through what they crossed through. All traditions that seriously reflected on human existence arrived at some version of the same insight about choices. That they are not merely actions in the world. They are acts of self-creation. In Judaism, there is a concept called teshuvah, often translated as repentance, but meaning something much richer. The word comes from a root meaning return. And the idea behind it is that every choice to change direction is a choice to return to something more essential within yourself. Not punishment for the past, a portal back to who you have always been at your core, but that certain choices had covered with layers. Teshuvah is not about failing and punishing yourself. It is about choosing and revealing yourself. Every time you stand at a crossroads and choose the path most aligned with who you most deeply want to become, you are not simply deciding where to go. You are removing a layer, revealing something that was always there but needed a specific path to appear. And there is something in quantum physics, far from spirituality, yet pointing toward the same place in a surprising way, that resonates with this idea. The principle of superposition says that a particle, before being observed, exists in multiple states at the same time. It is the act of observation, of choice, of commitment to one direction, that causes the particle to exist in a specific state. Before the choice, multiple versions of you coexist as possibility. It is the choice that causes one specific version of you to begin truly existing. Before the crossroads, every path still belongs to you. The moment you choose one, you begin becoming who that path reveals. It is not metaphor, it is structure. You, before choosing, are potential. You, after choosing, begin to be. And there is something only direct experience can reveal about this. The moment you make a choice aligned with who you most deeply want to become, even if it is difficult, even if there are no guarantees, even if the world around you does not understand, there is a specific quality in that moment. It is not euphoria. It is not certainty. It is something closer to recognition, as if a part of you that had been waiting knew the portal had opened. As if the forest itself knew you were walking in the right direction, not because the destination was guaranteed, but because the step was aligned. And the opposite is also true. When you choose the path that goes against what you most deeply know is right for you, not morally but existentially, there is a different quality. More subtle, easier to ignore in the noise of daily life, but present, like a branch bending in the wrong direction, like ground that does not support your weight the way it should. The forest does not lie. It responds to what you bring into it, and the choices you carry while walking, the quality of attention with which you make them, the honesty with which you recognize what each path is truly asking of you, determine the kind of forest you will move through. Not because you control the terrain, but because you determine how you cross it. And who you become while crossing is what you carry with you into the next path. There is something no analysis can give you before you choose, the certainty that it is the right choice. It does not exist beforehand. It is built afterward, through what you do with what you chose, through who you become while living the consequences, through the way you move through what the path reveals. And that is not bad news. It is one of the most honest ways to understand how life works. That security does not come before the choice. Security is built through it. Think about a choice you are postponing right now. It does not need to be huge. Could be a conversation. Could be the beginning of something you know you want to start but always find a reason to delay. Could be the ending of something you know needs to end but still feel you have not gathered what seems necessary to finish it. And ask, not with pressure, but with the genuine curiosity of someone standing at a crossroads looking at the available paths. Who do I become if I cross through this? Not what happens outside. Who do I become inside? Because that question, about the person who emerges on the other side of the portal, is the one that matters most. It is the one no list of pros and cons can answer. It is the one only you, through honesty about who you want to become, can begin to approach. The small choices matter too. Maybe especially the small ones, because they accumulate silently, day after day, shaping the ground beneath your feet. What you choose to think about yourself when you are alone, how you choose to respond when you are angry, whether you choose honesty in situations where dishonesty would be more comfortable, whether you choose what is difficult and right over what is easy and convenient. These choices do not look like crossroads, but they are. Every one of them is a step on a path, and the steps added together become direction. The clearing the fox found, this open and luminous space that was not visible from the crossroads, that only exists on the other side of the path she chose to walk. This clearing is the most honest image of what choices truly produce. Not only the destinations you planned, but the spaces you could never have anticipated, yet were waiting on the other side of choosing, following, and crossing through. You cannot see the clearing before you arrive there. You can only feel the path that points toward it and decide whether you will go. The question that remains, not as pressure, but as a compass for the days ahead, is this: what choice have you been avoiding, and what clearing is waiting on the other side of it?